Welcome back, everyone. Today we're looking at some pretty significant political development.
Absolutely. On April 28th, just recently, Congressman Shri Thanedar introduced articles of impeachment against President Trump.
Right, Thanedar from Michigan's 13th District. And these aren't minor allegations, are they?
No, not at all. The articles lay out what Thanedar calls a sweeping abuse of power, really flagrant constitutional violations.
Actions described as tyrannical, even, threatening democracy and the rule of law.
Exactly. Thanedar's statement was quite strong. He basically said Trump has repeatedly shown he's unfit to serve.
And represents a, quote, clear danger to the Constitution and democracy itself.
He believes Trump's actions have, well, undermined the justice system, stepped over the line regarding separation of powers.
And prioritized personal gain over public service. That's a heavy charge.
It is. And Thanedar argued that Congress needed to act now, that it couldn't wait.
He stressed it wasn't about partisanship, though, but about protecting democracy, upholding the idea that nobody's above the law.
Correct. And he laid out 7 specific articles of impeachment.
7. Okay, let's maybe walk through those. What's the first one?
The first covers obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power. So things like denying due process, unlawful deportations.
Wasn't there a specific case mentioned? Someone mistakenly deported?
Yes. Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man sent to El Salvador by mistake. That's cited as an example.
Okay. And defying court orders, misusing the DOJ. It sounds quite broad.
It is. The language used is dangerous, deliberate pattern and an obvious authoritarian power grab.
Wow. Okay, Article 2.
That's about usurpation of appropriations power. Essentially, dismantling agencies set up by Congress and holding back federal funds improperly, impounding funds.
Impounding funds. Got it. And number 3.
Abuse of trade powers and international aggression. This points to things like, those economically damaging tariffs, and also threats of military invasion against other sovereign nations.
Okay. Moving on to the 4th article.
Violation of First Amendment rights. This focuses on retaliation.
Retaliation against who?
Critics, media outlets, even attorneys. Basically, people exercising their right to free speech.
So actions seen as punishing dissent. What about number 5?
This one's interesting. Creation of an unlawful office.
This is the Department of Government Efficiency, right? DOGE.
That's the one. And it specifically mentions unlawfully empowering Elon Musk in a way that allegedly violates the Constitution unilaterally.
That's a very specific charge involving Musk. Okay, Article 6.
Bribery and corruption. This involves accusations like dismissing criminal cases improperly, soliciting foreign emoluments.
Emoluments, right. Receiving benefits or payments from foreign governments.
Exactly. And also mentions extortionate settlements being used for personal and political gain.
And the last one, number 7.
Tyrannical overreach. It's a kind of summary charge, arguing Trump sought to consolidate unchecked power, erode civil liberties, and just generally defy constitutional limits.
So a really wide-ranging set of accusations across these 7 articles.
Definitely. It covers a lot of ground.
And we should remember, this isn't Trump's first impeachment rodeo, so to speak.
No, he's been impeached twice before by the House, but importantly, acquitted by the Senate both times.
And the current political landscape. Republicans control both the House and Senate, right?
They do, which realistically makes the outcome for these new articles pretty uncertain. It's an uphill battle, politically speaking.
Absolutely. Now, there's another layer to this involving Congressman Thanedar himself, isn't there?
Yes, sort of happening in parallel. He's facing a primary challenge back in Michigan's 13th District.
Okay, who's running against him?
Donovan McKinney. He's a 32-year-old state representative. He just launched his campaign.
And he's not the only challenger.
No, former state Senator Adam Hollier is also in the race. So it's at least a 3-way primary for the Democrats.
Why is McKinney running? What's his angle?
He says the community deserves someone who understands their struggles directly, and he wants to aggressively fight back against what he calls the Trump-Musk administration.
The Trump-Musk administration? Interesting phrasing. And he's drawing a contrast with Thanedar.
Yeah, he argues Thanedar, being a multimillionaire, actually has more in common with Trump and Musk than with his own constituents.
What issues is McKinney focusing on?
His campaign highlights economic security, utility costs, which are a big deal, environmental quality, public education, and transit.
And he represents a tough district currently.
Reportedly the poorest legislative district in Michigan. So he's positioning himself as someone deeply familiar with working class issues.
Has he picked up any significant support?
He's got endorsements from some Detroit area state lawmakers, and notably, he's backed by Justice Democrats.
Justice Democrats. They've backed progressive challengers before, like members of the Squad.
Exactly. Their executive director, Alexandra Rojas, put out a statement saying Democratic voters are, quote, fed up with do-nothing career politicians.
And they see McKinney as part of a shift towards working-class power, taking on millionaires.
That's the narrative they're pushing. It also marks a return for Justice Democrats to challenging incumbents. After focusing more on protecting protecting their existing members recently.
There's also a specific context in Detroit, right, regarding representation.
Yes, a really important one. Detroit is nearly 80% black, and Thanedar's win in 2022 meant the city lost its black representation in Congress for the first time since 1955.
That must have caused significant backlash.
It did. There's been a concerted effort among some Detroit Democrats to try and restore black representation, which inherently involves challenging Thanedar, who immigrated from India.
And Adam Hollier, the other challenger, he ran before.
He did, against Thanedar in the 2022 primary. He actually had significant support, but then faced issues with petition signatures that got him disqualified from the ballot in 2024, though he's back now for this cycle.
So with both McKinney and Hollier running, could they split the anti-Thanedar vote?
That's certainly a possibility, yeah. It could potentially make it easier for Thanedar to win the primary if his opposition is divided.
How has Thanedar responded to these challenges?
He's expressed confidence. He's framed it as a choice for voters between his bold, strong, and proven leadership versus...
Let me guess, he wasn't complimentary about his opponents.
Not exactly. He referred to Hollier's alleged incompetence and McKinney's inexperience. Pretty standard political stuff.
This primary is also happening while there are broader debates within the Democratic Party itself, right, about its future direction.
Absolutely. You see public clashes, particularly in the House, about strategy looking ahead to the 2026 midterms.
And wasn't there that thing with David Hogg, the DNC vice chair?
Yes, he got some criticism for planning to back primary challengers against Democratic incumbents himself. His argument was the party needs fresh leadership, particularly to take on Trump effectively and connect with younger voters.
So challenging incumbents is definitely a part of the conversation right now within the party.
It seems to be, yeah. Which brings up the timing question.
You mean the timing of Thanedar introducing these impeachment articles? Could it be linked to his own primary fight?
Some commentators have suggested that. It's hard to say definitively, of course. One journalist noted that while primary challenges can influence incumbents, the effect is usually, quote, a bit more subtle than perhaps launching impeachment articles.
So it could be a factor, but maybe not the sole reason. It's complex.
Very complex. And we also have polling data suggesting a majority of voters actually disapprove of Trump's job performance and would support a third impeachment.
So there is some public appetite for this separate from Thanedar's specific situation.
Seems that way based on the polls mentioned. It adds another dimension to the whole thing.
It certainly does. It's a fascinating intersection of national impeachment politics, local primary dynamics, and internal party debates.
Absolutely. Lots of moving parts to keep an eye on.
Okay, well, that brings us towards the end of our look at this today. We've covered Congressman Thanedar's impeachment articles against President Trump and the simultaneous primary challenge he's facing in Michigan. If you found this breakdown helpful, please do consider liking this and subscribing for more analysis.
Definitely a situation that highlights the complexities of impeachment, especially with a divided Congress, and also the very real dynamics of primary elections and representation battles.
Indeed. Something to think about as these events unfold is how actions on the national stage, like introducing impeachment articles, might resonate or not with voters back home, especially when facing a tough primary fight. What ultimately matters more to those constituents?
That's the key question, isn't it? Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.